It's great to see rugby players who fight during a game often become friends later, even praising each other's skills. However, cameras have captured some truly terrifying moments, especially when professional players unleash brutal punches. These fights give the impression of real anger or revenge. And in this video, we're going to talk about 4 of the biggest fights in rugby history, including one that comes with a warning for graphic content on YouTube. Number 4. Owen Farrell vs. Schalk Brits in 2013. Rugby fans know Farrell often made news for the wrong reasons. In 2013, during a game against the British and Irish Lions and the Barbarians in Hong Kong, he did something crazy. He held Barbarians hooker Schalk Brits in a ruck, and Brits hit back with a left punch to Farrell's face.
And on a night like this at Hong Kong, you can't get away from it. He's holding Brits. Brits swings with the left.
Now, this 2013 match led to a lot of talk between Farrell's behavior and how he made the Brits angry. Some fans were okay with what Brits did, but others weren't. One fan said, "Sorry, in perspective of the match, swinging a punch like that should be an instant red. Barnes, as usual, is talking out of his arse." The reaction to Brits receiving only a yellow card for such a forceful punch was expected. These types of attacks typically warrant a red card. However, referee Steve Walsh clarified that the nature of the game influenced the decision. Initially, Walsh penalized Farrell for holding Brits, but reversed this call after reviewing television replays. Farrell later stated that he held no grudges about the incident after being on the receiving end of the punch. Following an International Rugby Board disciplinary hearing, Brits received a 3-week ban. He publicly apologized for his overreaction and praised the Lions' performance in their convincing victory over the Barbarians. Given the extremely hot and humid conditions, both teams deserve some understanding of how to handle their errors. Referees often take mitigating factors into account when making decisions. In this case, Brits' punishment was likely less severe due to the provocation of Farrell. Now, this incident served as a reminder to rugby players about the importance of staying composed when opponents attempt to provoke them, as losing control can have serious consequences for their team. Tuilagi vs. Ashton in 2011. Rugby fans know that one punch is usually enough to get a player in trouble, but imagine being on the receiving end of 3 hard punches. This all started when Manu Tuilagi, the center for Leicester Tigers, tackled Chris Ashton, a wing for Northampton Saints, high off the ball. Ashton pushed Tuilagi in the back of the head. This clearly provoked Tuilagi, and what happened next was unforgettable.
With Tiger centre Manu Tuilagi and Saints winger Chris Ashton trading blows. The result, a yellow card for both players.
The punches left Ashton needing medical help as blood flowed from his eye. Luckily, he wasn't concussed or hurt badly, and he was able to train afterward. Referee Wayne Barnes gave yellow cards to both players for their actions during the incident. However, this decision was met with criticism, much like the controversial yellow given to Schalk Brits for his punch on Owen Farrell. One curious fan felt free to share whatever they want. Here's a quote: "We all want to punch Chris Ashton, but you can't do it like that on the field. Fairness to Ashton, the high hit off the ball by Tuilagi should have been punished, and although Ashton should not have responded with the shove, it was nothing compared to the right-left-right combo that followed in return. Ashton should have stayed on the field, and Tuilagi should have seen red. Poor decision by the touch judge. If a TMO review had been available, that decision would have been changed." Interestingly enough, Leicester operations manager Simon Cohen later said that the punch wasn't as bad as it looked. The slow-motion replay made it seem a lot worse than what it really was. He also mentioned that if you considered it just a single punch, since Tuilagi missed with his first 2 swings, it would be seen as a pretty minor offense. However, the disciplinary panel decided to treat it as a serious manner. Tuilagi ended up with a 500-pound fine and a 5-week ban, which was reduced from 10 weeks because Ashton tried to provoke him first. Fast forward then to 2022, and the whole incident gained attention again when a clip of it got over 2.5 million views on social media. What particularly captivated rugby fans was how Ashton absorbed those punches without fighting back. This revelation was highlighted by Simon Cohen, who disclosed that Tuilagi had been criticized by a teammate for not punching effectively. The incident was deemed so severe that the video was accompanied by a graphic warning on YouTube. So before we move on to the next pivotal moment in rugby history, be sure to hit that subscribe button. This way, my friends, you're not going to miss any exciting rugby updates. Number 2. Salesi Ma'afu vs. Tom Youngs in 2014. The incident involving Tuilagi's hits on Ashton bears some resemblance to the altercation that was captured in 2014. For those unfamiliar with the match in question, it was the Aviva Premiership semifinal between the Leicester Tigers and the Northampton Saints. Tom Wood's thrilling last-minute try secured his team's place in the Premiership final with a nail-biting victory over the Tigers. Now, the Tigers were leading at the time, but were playing with a man down due to a yellow card.
It's in games like this, and it goes the other way, cost your team.
Well, that would have been down to 13 men, because there's absolutely no doubt that would have been yellow.
Another 2.5 minutes left on Bowden's yellow card. Once again, it's won by Laws. He's really grown.
There was a Northampton rolling maul, and this is where it started. Nothing seemed particularly troubling at first. However, Tom Youngs was holding onto Salesi Ma'afu, which caused him to lose his temper, followed by a two-punch combo that floored the England and British and Irish Lions hooker. Youngs expected sympathy after receiving a body shot followed by a clean strike to his head.
Again kicked the points from the penalty, and there was more ill discipline to follow. Tom Youngs and Salesi Ma'afu involved in an off-the-ball scrap. The Leicester hooker Youngs yellow-carded for starting it. Ma'afu sent off permanently for finishing it.
And referee JP Doyle issued a red card to Ma'afu for his aggressive reaction, while Youngs received a yellow card for provoking the incident. Later, Ma'afu was cited and faced a disciplinary hearing, resulting in a 1-week ban and a £500 fine for his involvement. The best part of rugby is that the players don't hold grudges against their opponents, viewing each hit as just part of the game. This pair exemplified the attitude. Youngs posted a picture of their altercation along with a tweet, "Good shot, mate. Go well in the final. #Rocky." Ma'afu responded, "Cheers, mate. The jersey can overcome us in the heat of battle. I owe you a pint. #respect." The tweets went viral, generating numerous stories on sports websites and thousands of retweets. In 2024, this event will continue to capture attention on social media. And number 1, Duncan McRae versus Ronan O'Gara in 2001. Now, the reason for placing this incident first on the list is that it involves a serious fight resulting in a victim requiring immediate medical attention, and it occurred many years before the other events discussed in the video. If you've been following rugby matches for a while, you might recall the infamous Waratahs Lions game that left a player with a serious medical condition. Waratahs fullback Duncan McRae struck Ronan O'Gara 11 times, making headlines. To some observers, it resembled cage fighting without the cage, but only one participant actively engaged in the altercation.
It's loose. It's been picked up by Pinkerton. Great work, New South Wales. McRae's throwing some punches down in back play. Oh, tempers getting out of control out there now. McRae and Baffert James.
What are your thoughts on this incident? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Now, look, in my view, nothing could justify McRae's actions in repeatedly punching O'Gara. The severity of the assault is evident from the fact that O'Gara required 8 stitches above his eyes. The situation was handled poorly, with McRae receiving a red card and a 7-week ban. Some might argue was insufficient given the nature of the attack. While Duncan McRae faced significant criticism for his actions, he also did receive some support from certain quarters. Coach Bob Dwyer said, "O'Gara used an elbow and lashed out with his boot on the ground. Duncan took offense and decided to square it up." McRae also received support from Lions team manager Lenihan. Lenihan openly expressed his disagreement with how the Waratahs management handled the situation and their attempt to defend the incident. His statements clearly demonstrated this position. For instance, he said, "What annoyed me most was that McRae said nothing to Ronan. There was no attempt to apologize. And I thought that very poor under the circumstances. They tried to say that McRae acted in retaliation when they would have been far better off simply putting up their hands." So do you think any of these punches could have been avoided if the players had chosen to handle the situation calmly? Let's share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.